Imagine walking into a modest office in Beijing's Haidian district. Right near the entrance, there's just this piano sitting there.
A piano.
Yeah, a piano. And on the wall, there's a vintage poster for Pink Floyd's album, The Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
Right. And the guy running the place, he is actually a drummer in an indie band.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, you would assume you had just stumbled into a quirky design firm or, I don't know, a boutique record label or something. You certainly wouldn't think this guy is quietly building a $20 billion tech juggernaut.
It's definitely not.
But he is, and they are currently going toe-to-toe with the absolute bleeding edge of the global AI industry.
It is just such a brilliant juxtaposition. Like you have this highly artistic, incredibly laid-back physical space, but the people operating inside that room are engineering some of the most sophisticated, mathematically dense artificial intelligence architecture on the planet.
Exactly. And that contrast is exactly why we are taking a deep dive into this today. We're pulling from this massive, really fascinating expose published in Tech Reader magazine on July 18th, 2026.
Yeah, by Aaron Rose.
Right. It's titled Kimi and the Dark Side of the Moon. And our mission today is to explore how a company called Moonshot AI and its flagship model, Kimi, completely defied the rest of the industry.
They really did.
I mean, while everyone else was obsessively focused on building conversational chatbots, Moonshot focused on one singular, deeply complex problem, which is memory. We're looking at how that one contrarian bet basically transformed them into an absolute powerhouse.
Which is incredibly relevant for you listening right now. Because, we're all drowning in information overload.
Oh, absolutely.
And as you navigate these tools of the future, understanding how an AI actually learns to remember and synthesize and process massive data sets rather than just, spitting out a clever context-free response is the ultimate cheat code.
Yeah, it really is.
It's how you stay ahead of where this technology is actually going instead of just getting distracted by the shiny interface.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why Moonshot is dominating headlines right now in the summer of 2026, we actually have to go back to 2023.
Right, the early days.
Yeah, and we have to look at what they deliberately refused to build, because the industry was in an absolute frenzy. ChatGPT had just dropped, and every tech company on Earth was pivoting to build a chatbot.
Oh yeah, total chaos.
Exactly. And into this chaos steps Yang Jilin. He's this under 30 Carnegie Mellon grad, and yes, the drummer in a band called Skiplist.
Great detail.
Right. So he heads back to Beijing and teams up with two Tsinghua-trained engineers, Zhu Jinyu and Wu Yuxin.
And those two co-founders are really crucial to this story. They are heavy hitters in efficient neural networks and large-scale computing systems.
Like serious engineers.
Serious engineers. If you want to build a consumer app, you hire UI designers.
Yeah.
But if you want to build foundational infrastructure that challenges the laws of physics and compute power, you hire engineers like Zhu and Wu.
Totally. So they launched the company in March 2023 and name it Moonshot AI, which is the dark side of the moon in Chinese, honoring that Pink Floyd album.
Which, ironically, had just turned 50 years old that very month.
Exactly. And Yang installs that piano in the lobby, telling his team that a great company doesn't just need code. It needs cultural depth and a soul.
I love that.
And it worked. In 3 months, he raises $60 million, hires 40 people, and immediately starts building something totally different from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, because he was operating on a completely different theory of the case. The consensus at the time was that AGI, or artificial general intelligence, would be achieved through better conversation.
Right, like better reasoning through chat.
Exactly. But Yang fundamentally disagreed with that. He believed the actual bottleneck to true intelligence was memory.
So, to put this in perspective for you, think about a computer. You have your hard drive, which stores all your long-term files, and you have your RAM, which is the working memory you use for whatever applications are open right now.
Right.
Well, in the AI world, that working memory is called the context window. And back in 2023, the industry standard context window was tiny. We're talking maybe 4,000 to 8,000 tokens.
Which basically means the AI could remember about a few pages of text at any given time.
Yeah, barely anything.
So if you gave it a dense 40-page legal contract and asked it to, say, compare a clause on page 2 with a liability waiver on page 38, it would just hallucinate.
Right.
It literally did not have the working memory to hold both ends of the document in its head at once.
It's kind of like having a brilliant assistant who has read every book in the world, but they have severe short-term memory loss.
That's a perfect way to put it.
You talk to them for 5 minutes, and they completely forget how the conversation started. But Yang wanted to build an AI with the recall of a meticulous archivist, like a machine with enough working memory to lay out an entire library on a desk simultaneously, analyze it, and synthesize it without dropping a single detail.
What's fascinating here is the sheer engineering hurdle they had to overcome to achieve that. Because expanding a context window isn't just a matter of, flipping a switch.
Oh, no.
In neural networks, there's a fundamental mathematical problem with the attention mechanism. As you feed the AI more words, it has to compare every single new word to every other word that came before it to understand the context.
So the computational cost doesn't just double when you double the memory, it scales quadratically.
Precisely. It skyrockets.
It just becomes unmanageable.
Yeah, it becomes economically unviable and technically nightmarish to process. And that's exactly why the giants weren't doing it. But Moonshot's engineering trio actually cracked a way to make it efficient.
Which is insane.
It really is. So in October 2023, they launched their product in closed beta, naming it Kimi, which is Yang's own English nickname. And they launched with a context window of 128,000 tokens.
Which is roughly 200,000 Chinese characters in a single prompt. That is 10 times what the global competition was offering.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can really see how Yang's philosophy was coming to life. This massive context window wasn't just a gimmick.
Right.
It meant a lawyer could actually upload entire case files. A programmer could upload an entire code base. By solving the memory problem, Kimi transformed AI from a conversational toy into a high-utility tool for serious knowledge workers.
But of course, building the most powerful tool on the market creates a totally new physics problem, which is demand.
Oh, yeah.
Less than a year into operations, Moonshot is absolutely soaring. I mean, they hit a $1 billion funding round at a $2.5 billion valuation.
Backed by giants like Sequoia China, Alibaba, Tencent.
Exactly. The press even dubs them one of China's 4 AI tigers. They are riding this incredible wave. And then, in March 2024, they push the envelope again. They release a beta version that supports 2 million Chinese characters in a single prompt.
An astronomical leap. You were talking about uploading several massive books at once and having the AI synthesize them in seconds.
The public reaction was instant. I mean, Kimi surged to 5th place on China's App Store free rankings.
Yeah.
They even briefly beat out WeChat.
Wow.
Millions of people are slamming the servers with massive documents, and then the entire system just buckled.
Completely crashed.
Kimi went completely dark for 2 days. Users were greeted with an error message that has since become a legendary badge of honor in Moonshot lore, which is 429.
Yeah.
Engine is overloaded.
And their engineering team was scrambling, performing 5 emergency capacity expansions back-to-back just to get the system to turn back on.
But wait, a 2-day total blackout for a relatively new launch? I mean, if I download an app and it throws a server error for 48 hours, I am deleting it.
Yeah, most people would.
Right. I'm never looking back. How does a catastrophic outage like that not just permanently kill their momentum right out of the gate?
Well, it would kill a standard consumer app, without a doubt.
Oh.
But Kimi wasn't a standard app. It was a fundamental capability unlock. In the tech industry, this is what's known as a product-market fit crucible.
Okay.
When a tool suddenly allows an auditor to upload a year's worth of messy financial statements and get a perfect summary in 10 seconds, they don't delete the app when it crashes.
No, they sit there and refresh the page until the servers come back online.
Because there is literally no alternative.
That makes sense.
Exactly. I mean, he still recorded over 12.188 million monthly visits that March, despite the downtime. The crash didn't signal that the product was flawed. It signaled that their core thesis was entirely correct.
People were absolutely starved for an AI that could process huge amounts of information.
And they were willing to break the infrastructure to get it.
So they survived the crucible, they stabilized the servers, and they proved their theory. But as we move into the end of 2024 and early 2025, the landscape shifts pretty dramatically.
It definitely gets tougher.
The consumer AI space turns into an absolute bloodbath. You have Baidu, Alibaba, ByteDance, DeepSeek, these massive conglomerates with bottomless marketing budgets, all fighting for the exact same smartphone users.
Right, because the consumer market requires endless customer acquisition spend. which is a brutal game even for a unicorn like Moonshot.
And it really shows. I mean, despite Moonshot rolling out some really innovative features like the Kimi Explorer Edition, which had autonomous search capabilities,
Yeah.
and even hitting 36 million active users, Kimi's consumer ranking starts to slide.
Yeah.
By June 2025, they had dropped to 7th place among Chinese AI assistants.
The broader ecosystem was just getting way too crowded with incredibly well-funded alternatives.
So what does this all mean? Like, if you're a CEO and your flagship consumer app is sliding down the charts, the instinct is to spend more on marketing, right?
Usually, yes.
But Yang does something totally unexpected. He pivots. He essentially sidesteps the consumer war and doubles down on developers through open source releases.
A huge shift.
In early 2025, they roll out K1.5, which is a powerful reasoning model that actually matched OpenAI's O1. Then they drop Kimi VL for vision, Kimi Dev with 72 billion parameters just for coding, and Kimi Researcher.
Yeah.
They are suddenly giving away these incredibly powerful tools to the developer community. Isn't that just waving the white flag?
Well, on the surface, sure. If you are only measuring success by App Store rankings, it definitely looks like a retreat.
Oh.
But strategically, there was a masterstroke.
Really?
Yeah. Moonshot recognized that fighting a marketing war against a giant like ByteDance was a losing proposition. So they decided to change the game from subscriptions to infrastructure.
Basically saying, we don't need to build the most popular car if we manufacture the engine that every other car company has to buy.
That is the perfect way to look at it. Because if thousands of independent developers and enterprise companies build their own custom apps on top of Moonshot's open source architecture, mostly because nobody else offers that kind of memory and context capability, then Moonshot wins the entire ecosystem.
Wow.
They weave themselves into the foundational fabric of the next generation of software.
And that infrastructure play didn't just quietly succeed. It set off an absolute explosion in the global AI community.
Oh, massive.
In July 2025, they released Kimi K2. Now, this was a 1 trillion parameter model released under a modified MIT license. But it wasn't just a brute force massive model. It was a mixture of experts model, or MOE.
And this is a really vital technical distinction. Running a trillion parameter model normally requires an unthinkable amount of electricity and compute power. But a mixture of experts model works completely differently.
Oh, so?
Well, instead of one giant monolithic brain trying to process every single prompt, the model is divided into highly specialized neural networks. Those are the experts.
So if I ask the AI to write a Python script, it doesn't wake up the poetry expert or the history expert. It only activates the coding expert.
Yes, exactly. In K2's case, while the total model had 1 trillion parameters, only 32 billion parameters were actively firing for any given task.
That's incredible.
It delivers the intelligence of a massive model with the speed and cost efficiency of a much smaller one.
And the reception to this was staggering. The tech world actually started calling it the DeepSeek moment, referring to how DeepSeek had previously shocked the industry with highly efficient models.
Right.
K2 hit #1 on Hugging Face, which is basically the central hub for AI developers, within 24 hours.
Insane.
They had 3.6 billion website visits in 48 hours. GitHub projects integrating Kimi shot up by 200%. Even Perplexity announced they were fine-tuning K2 for their own system.
Yeah, the adoption was wild.
And then, just a few months later, in September, they doubled the context window again to 256K tokens.
They were scaling at a breathtaking pace. But, when you are training a model with 15.5 trillion tokens of data, as they did with K2, you inevitably slam into the hardest barrier in the modern AI industry.
Which is data acquisition.
Data acquisition, yeah.
Which brings us to the controversy. In February 2026, Anthropic, the company behind the Claude models, levied a serious accusation against Moonshot.
Yes, they did.
They updated their terms of service and alleged that Moonshot had used thousands of fraudulent accounts to generate massive amounts of conversational data from Claude. The allegation is that Moonshot took this synthetic data and used it to train their own Kimi models.
Now, to be absolutely clear here, Moonshot has not publicly confirmed or denied the specifics of these claims.
Right.
And we are not here to play judge or jury on a terms of service dispute.
Exactly. We are just looking at the facts reported in the source material, and we're maintaining strict neutrality on the accusation itself. We're just reporting what the article says.
Absolutely. But this raises an important question, because whether or not these specific allegations hold water, the friction points to a systemic crisis in the field. We are in the middle of an invisible, global data arms race.
And I imagine a data arms race basically means we have literally run out of human text on the internet, right?
Essentially, yes.
Have these companies consumed every book, article, and Reddit post that exists, forcing them to find data somewhere else?
That is exactly the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Trillion-parameter models are starving beasts. The demand for high-quality training data has completely, vastly outpaced the supply of human-generated text, let alone the governing legal frameworks for how to acquire it.
Right.
Every major lob is feeling this pressure. Data has become the single biggest limiting factor to achieving AGI.
So it leads to a scenario where models might be forced to train on data generated by other models like synthetic data, which pushes the whole industry into very murky ethical and legal territory just to maintain their growth curves.
It is the defining tension of the AI industry right now. Growth requires data, and the easy data is gone.
Yet, despite navigating this intense scrutiny and battling the deepest pockets in tech, Yang's core bet from 2023 is paying off at a scale that is almost hard to comprehend as we sit here in the summer of 2026.
The financial and technical metrics are simply extraordinary for a 3-year-old company.
I mean, in May of 2026, just a few months ago, Moonshot closed roughly $2 billion in new funding, pushing their valuation to roughly $20 billion.
Unbelievable.
They hit $200 million in annual recurring revenue. There are widespread rumors of an upcoming $30 billion valuation round and even a potential IPO in Hong Kong.
Wow.
They sit at number 35 on the Huron Global Unicorn list.
And the technical releases are keeping pace with the financial momentum, too. They recently launched Key 2.5, which included a new vision encoder called MoonVT.
And this is wild to me. MoonVT can actually watch a video of a human clicking around a website, understand the intention behind those actions, and replicate that digital journey completely autonomously.
Yes.
It's moving from just reading text to actually taking action on the web.
And just days before this article was published in July 2026, K3 dropped.
Right.
It immediately ranked first globally in web interface building and took second place overall on the Valve's AI leaderboard. It is standing shoulder to shoulder with OpenAI's GPT 5.5 and Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8.
So they started with a philosophy about memory, and they forged it into a product that competes with the absolute giants of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it really did.
And it all traces back to Yang Zilin himself.
Yeah.
The article describes him as a stubborn AGI purist. He is not easily distracted. He has outlined 3 very specific, uncompromising milestones for his company.
Which really serves as a great roadmap for how Moonshot views the future of intelligence. Milestone 1 is long context length, which is that foundational memory bet they've already proven.
Check.
Yeah, check. Milestone 2 is a multimodal world model, meaning an AI that doesn't just process text, but can see, hear, and interact with the physical and digital world seamlessly.
Like what they're starting to do with MoonVT.
Exactly.
And the 3rd milestone, a scalable general architecture for continuous self-improvement without human input.
The Holy Grail. An AI system that can iteratively make itself smarter and more capable autonomously without needing engineers to constantly feed it new human data.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. When you look at Yang's trajectory, he does not act like a traditional tech CEO.
No, not at all.
He isn't obsessing over quarter-by-quarter user retention metrics or pivoting to whatever interface is trending on Twitter this week. He is building a deeply technical architecture that reflects his own artistic, almost philosophical view of the world.
It circles all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
The piano in the lobby. The Pink Floyd references.
Exactly. Those aren't just quirky startup aesthetics. They reflect a founder who believes intelligence requires cultural depth. The decision to build a massive context window didn't come from a focus group, you know. It came from a deeply held belief that without memory, you cannot have a soul, and you certainly cannot have true intelligence. And now, that personal philosophy is serving as the foundational infrastructure for millions of developers around the world.
Which is a profound reminder for you as a user when evaluating the technology entering your life.
Yeah.
As you are confronted with dozens of new AI assistants and agents, don't just judge them by how quickly they can chat or how slick the interface is.
But past the hood ornament.
Yes, exactly. Ask yourself the harder question. How well does this system actually remember the context of what I'm asking? Can it synthesize a massive amount of complex information, or is it just reacting to the last sentence I typed?
Right.
Moonshot proved that the true utility of artificial intelligence lies in memory and context, not just in mimicking a conversation.
So to pull this incredible story together, in just 3 years, Moonshot went from a $60 million idea championed by a drummer in a modest Beijing office to a $20 billion global powerhouse.
It's an insane trajectory.
They proved that sometimes the only way to scale massively is to completely ignore the current industry obsession and solve a deeper, much more complex underlying problem.
They bypass the application layer and bet everything on the core architecture of intelligence itself.
And they won the bet. Which leads me to a final thought I want to leave you with. This was actually inspired by a teaser in the source material about an upcoming piece on the new famous.
Oh, right.
We are entering a fascinating era where tech founders are no longer just invisible executives in boardrooms. They are becoming highly visible cultural artifacts. They are becoming powerful brands in their own right.
And their personal eccentricities fundamentally shape the technology we all use.
That's the crux of it. Think about the implications of that. If an incredibly powerful, world-altering AI model is ultimately shaped by the philosophies, the quirks, and the soul of its creator, like a founder who insists on having a piano in the lobby to remind his engineers about the importance of depth, what does it actually mean for humanity when these deeply personal, philosophically driven algorithms start making complex, everyday decisions for the rest of us?